Yeah, Thursday, 9:00. It's on YouTube and on Zoom. Okay. Thursday, 9:00. Okay, it doesn't bother me. Very good. Usually they make it into a mukdam. I'm surprised. Usually when it comes on Friday, they push it on to Thursday. Not yet. The Choshesh V'Chil Shabbos, so they do these things early. Right. So tomorrow, 8:00, you have the tefillah and the yeshiva, and then you have a 9:00 a masiba with the Rosh Yeshivas and singing, and with Chaver Knesset Smotrich, whoever that is. I guess he's interesting. Good. Okay, let's go learn. People, very hot. Yeah, Perek Dal Mishnah Chavav. Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda ish kfar Bavli Omer halamid min aktanim l'ma u'daimer la'oichel anavim keyos v'shoisha yayin migitoi. Rambam explains, because you learn from a person which doesn't come to maskanas, doesn't have a clear picture, you're basically having grapes which are not yet ripe, and you're drinking wine which hasn't really fermented. It's not fine, it's not finished. But if you learn from someone which is a zaken, so to speak, that he really has mishnasa, his dura, he has things in clear, his mavar, his fake eyes. That's oicha navim b'shelis. You're reading ripe grapes. So you're drinking old wine, which is very good. Rebbe says the issue is not age. It doesn't matter whether he's 20, 30, 50, or 100. It depends what's inside him. In other words, yesh kanka chodesh, you have a young teacher, but he is already mavar his fakus and knows what he's doing. He has the scope, he has the depth, he's doing well. Yesh yoshin, you can be 95 going on 120. I feel a chodesh ein boy. He doesn't have any. He's full of fakus. He's full of a chosser yediyah. So the cloud is, but that number is saying that you should find a teacher which gives you maskanas, which gives you a way of finalizing. He has tzirutsim to your questions and various fakas. That's what he basically says. He writes, you have to yediyos loima bulbolos umu bavois. That's what he says. Okay, Rebbe Lazar Kappa, Akina, jealousy, vataiva, and obsessive desires, and covered on the obsessive desire to have your ego reaffirmed through honor. What does that mean? So the Rambam says, what does it mean? They take you out, a loser out of this world. What does that mean? Whether it's kina or covered or taiva, one of the three is going to destroy your religion. There's no way. If you're chayli in kina or covered or taiva, it will destroy your religious posture. You won't be able to develop either in your intellectual world or in your emotional world. You won't be able, it won't happen. But these are all things which are, I'm not going to do the psychology at the moment, but these three things are a celebration of a subjective self without even being able to see objective necessity and reality. So obviously you can't be kind of miles as the asichlios. Miles as sichlis can only be with a person which lives with some extent of intellectual honesty and looking for an objective truth. And miles and midoshis are the same, because miles and midoshis, they're based around a perception of a subjective self. You're always going to be terrible. The only reason you understand, you get good midas, because you understand. As we learned, mayin baslan to heilich them yet as the different cheshbon that creates milas tovus. So that's what he says. The morale has a typical Moralian approach here. Ramal is the Mishnah Kipshuta. Mitziyim in Olam. What does it mean? Not that they draw you out of the world. They will end up drawing you. When you leave, you will be empty. That's how he understands. Mitziyim is min Olam mafsid. So he adds a word. Mitziyim is Olam empty-handed. Maral doesn't see the word empty-handed in the Mishnah, so he explains it. It's basically the same idea, but he says these are three things which take you away from the objective truth of the world. Olam, he understands the true world. They put you into an imaginary world, totally subjective, and therefore you don't really see the truth. That's the Maral and Derech Chaim. So, but I think they both share the same idea. The question is, what's more mistaber in Munach and Lashon on Mishnah? Next Mishnah. Who are you, Aimer? This is your Blazer HaKaper. Oh, this is a great Mishnah. Hayuludim lamavis. Get used to the idea. You're born, you're dying. Get used to it. Hamesim lichyos. The flip side is, but death is not forever. There's a tchias hamesim involved. V'chaim lidon. You know, your life, my friend, afterwards has accountability. There's nothing which is not needed. Leida lo'idea livada, which Rambam says the three ways of understanding things. She'edu, what does that mean? Leida, le'idea livada. It means to say, Shilchoima she'edu atidim livaleit. V'ashem atay yeludim v'yamusu. V'asher yichyu acha amavis. The three people that we mentioned before. Living, die, dying, live. You know what I mean? So basically understands whether you're about to be born. Those, the neshama before it goes into the guf. The neshama once it leaves the guf, okay? When it's talking about that, Yeludim v'yamus, or when it's still there. Lichla is a yediyah l'shlosh kita says we have to know this thing. So that's the pshat leida l'diyah l'vada. Rabbeinu Yonah interprets it differently. Leida means to say the adeh know from others. And livada is called from yourself. But he said the idea you either have to learn from others or become an autodidact. This is something everyone has to know at all levels of existence. Shehu ha'yotzer, hu ha'bayre. He's the former. He's the creator. He is the maven. He knows what's happening. No shtick. V'hu ha'dayan, v'hu ha'eid. And he's the baldin. V'hu osid ladun. You can't butter him up. What does that mean to say? It means to say. So the Rambam explains what this means. When it says like there's the Rambam who had died was Lodon Retzelem Shu Adan Ata is Akol Bachaim Ubamaves Ubshar Yoni Oila. Now he's done us. Ugam Osid Lodon as Oisim Sheyichu Ba'achis Bigmul Ba'inish. The Yom Adin Agadol after Tchias HaMeisim, there's going to be a major din. Get used to it. We never get off this din stuff. God doesn't take money. Thank you. Of course, that's not what it means. So what does it mean God can be bribed? This is something you can't even imagine. Why would anybody bring it up? Your ma'asim tovim won't help. Sometimes you think you did something stupid, but it did great things, so that will get me off the hook. Kigon shi'asa adam elif tovos v'ra achas. Eine menakala yisala oisa avera biglal raiv tovaisav. You don't get a discount because of that. V'yachsha elif tovos pachas tova pachas tovos. No. The good does not deduct what you are accountable for the bad. Get that straight. You have a great schuyos, so you'll get a lot of schar. But you also have chisroinus, you will pay for that. That's the insight in this Mishnah. That the din is not, there's no such thing. You pay for everything. Simple as that. The greatest person will be accountable for the smallest problem. Just as the Moshe Rabbeinu was accountable, Al-Avan is a Shita Sarama, the Mei Mariva was because of Kas. With greatest respect, Kas is a very bad thing. It's not a chi of Misa, not a chi of Skila, not a chi of Malchus. Okay? If that, it's a very bad thing. But Moshe Rabbeinu, the Gadol Shebigdalim, was nifra because of that. Moshe Bi'an. And the opposite is true for Esav. Esav, which is Paul, Naira, Mersa, B'Yom Kippur, and did everything bad. He got Gvul Guschar because he had Kibbut Avaim. He was Nigma because of that. That's a Furshib Red Medish Rabbah. And also Nebuchadnezzar, it said he got Sachar. Nebuchadnezzar was a Russia Marusha, and even Avodah Zarah, with all the bad things you can think about, he got Sachar. Kibbut Hashem, Klaim Hashem Hashem. Shemoshin Zbag Morrison Hedrick. That's Lalei Masa upon him. Everybody gets what he's due. Whether you're the Russia Marusha, you will get Sachar for your mitzvahs. The flip side is you're a Tzaddik Gomer, you will pay for the Averos. There's no such thing as no discounts because of stature, and no discounts because of good things you did. The flip side is also the other thing is true. They did 1,000,000 Averos, but you get the full Sachar for the mitzvah you did. The Mishnah says weiter, you have to remember one thing. Don't think you're going to get scot-free as soon as you're in the grave. And this is the famous line, which is important. Whether you want it or not, God created you without asking you. Not only were you created as a fetus, you were actually born. The fact that you're alive has nothing to do with you. All this is God's plan without bechira. Misa is not totally biyadcha. The same thing which is mukhrach is also mukhrach, that whatever it came into being is also litin din lecheshbon. The melech ma'achalachma kadosh baruch hu zot the Rambam. He's binding by maram shal kocha tanoitze v'chol hasamach lefiishu iskir dvarim tiviyim she'ein abchir biyad ha'odem mem asher lehem nemar hakol b'dei shemayim v'lo yomar al kocha tachoyte. It only says kocha tanoitze tachai tameis. It doesn't say al kocha tachoyte or al kocha ta'over or avera or al kocha ta'mahalech or al kocha ta'omeid. If you should call it Varma Eila Bidea Adam. He's medayik this mission, the Al-Kochacha is specifically talking about natural phenomena. Anything a person does, there's no Al-Kochacha. That's what you want. This is typically Rambam trying to take this Yisoid out from this mission. I'm not sure whether it's such a good diuk in the Guf Lashon HaMishnah, but that's what he does. He uses the Mishnah for the agenda that he has at the end of Ilchus Tshuva, that there's no such thing as determinism. Should be on the Perik Ashmini. Thus idos Shangandik Chasal Perik Dalit. Now the shaila is, do I do Perik Hey, which is Mishnayos, or we start doing L'chayra? We should be doing Perik Vav, which is not Mishnayos, because that's Kinyan Torah. That's the Brisa of Kinyan Torah. Very appropriate for before Shavuos. So we will do that. Good. Gidon Fox, I sent you a text inviting you to come talk with me, answering your email or text. You probably didn't see it, so I'm sorry. Okay, let's go back.
Sorry, Rav. My phone was off. Sorry.
Thank you. Great, keep it off. You enjoyed that. Okay, so let's finish this. I decided, because I want to spend, I can give you time to prepare this up, the Acharecha thing. It's really complex. So I'm going to finish the Amid, be on the safe side, and then hopefully next week we'll be able to do that. Okay, so let's finish the Amid. Let's finish. We haven't finished certain things. We left with a question last time, and the question was, going back to the Rashbam, Divra, Amaschel, where is this? V'oid ha'omar mar, towards the, v'oid. The second question on Rav Nachman. Let's look at the questions again. The question was on Rav Nachman. What did he ask? Kasha Rav Nachman, Kasha Yidach and Rav and Rav Nachman. Yidach Kasha. Here there's a question on Rabbah. What did he ask? Maishna Moaz, the Lord, Lavan and Moaz, Shavak Avon, Kakanami, Lavai Kaka, Shavak Avon. That's one. But Amris Mustafa Timid of Nemarava, the Ikadim Safta, Vizvina Zvina, Reb Nachman Kasha. What's the Kasha on Reb Nachman? Maishna Kaka, the Lord, the Lavai Kaka, Shavak Avon, Moaz, Nami, Lavan and Moaz, Shavak Avon. But Oid, Ha'amar Reb Nachman, Amar Rabba, Amar Avo, Yisaidim, Shagavu Kaka, B'chayv Saviyam, B'chayv Chayzer, V'gayve Mehen. That's the Kasha. On that, I want to understand what the Rashbam says. So the Rashbam writes in the first stage of widened out line, literally right under the Gemara, the Divrei Masav Oid Kasha Achers the Rav Nachman the Choshev Mos Muchzakos Tvei Mikarka. Ha'ipche Hevel Lameima Mishum Dekarka Shalei Ve'eva Muzik Tvei Lamalva. How do we know? The Ahu the Omer Mishum Rabba Baravua Yisemim Tvei Malva. Shegovel Karkim in Aleiva B'Chayvis Aviyim B'Chayv Shel Aviyim Shenischayv Le Aviyim Mos Chayze V'Goyva Oisa Mehem. He collects these karkas. V'im lo haya muzi b'dei aviyim b'chaim. We're going to say that the karka, which the Yoseba are now collecting, which is b'shubit nechasim, to the father, isn't called muzi b'yad ha'av b'chaim. You know, that's for as if they yorish that shibut nechasim. Eich yachal b'chayv l'gvaisa. You couldn't collect. It's impossible. Why? V'lo ilu kono you say ma'achem mises aviyim karka. Mi yachal l'gvaisa. No. There's no such thing. If he doesn't have it mamish biyad, then he's not, the Balchayv is not goyver. So if that's the case, it has to be shell, it has to be muchzik, not even roy. If that's the case, it's a double push. It has to be muchzik and not roy, because only once it's muchzik, then then we say that what? That the Balchayv is then the Balchayv is goyver. But if it's not muzik, it's only roy, and then what's the halacha? It's called it's as if they bought something after misasai, and it's not meshubit. That's the halacha that the Balchayv is not meshubit from that. Good. Then he adds the words of metata to the yasma lemishtadlu Balchayv. And I asked, what does that mean? Who's talking about metata to the yasma? And he writes, Kach kosev b'pirish ben Chanana. No, I don't have Rabbeinu Chanana on Bava Basra. If someone would have it, show me that there's the book, I would look for it. I don't have it. Vos meitos. What does it mean? Who's talking about metatla here? The only thing we have as far as the din of metatla, the asur mishtabda, found in that Gemara is something else, that the memory of Rami Bar Chama. What's the memory of Rami Bar Chama over there in Daf Lamed Aleph? There the Gemara says that what happens if the father sold a soda ba'achrayis? That's the Gemara from Bar Chama. Reuven shemachar soda l'shimon ba'achrayis. He sold him a soda, and with the achrayis that he will pay if the Balchayv of Reuven collects from the soda that he sold to Shimon. V'zok v'olah b'milveh. Well, Shimon actually did not pay cash, didn't pay the debt for the acquisition. Actually, he chucked it up as a loan. He now owes the money to Reuven. So Reuven sold so Shimon owes Reuven money, and Reuven is mischaim to money if that karka will be collected for the chayvers that Reuven has. Umeis Reuven, v'asa balchayv de Reuven v'torfle mishima. So now actually the balchayv of Reuven, the deceased, wants to collect this karka that Shimon acquired, and he owes money because of it to Reuven and Reuven's children. Also, Shimon upaisa bezuzah. So what did Shimon do? He took money, and so to speak, and he paid it up. Besalik bezuzah. He didn't want to give away the karka. He gave them money. So we say dinu. The halacha is the asa b'nei Reuven, that the Yisraelim now come v'amr le Shimon. They say to Shimon, listen, my friend, anon mitaltalin shavak avur gabach. The money that you owe is ours. Metaltalin, the money that you owe is metaltalin, and that's what you owed our father, Zakev B'milva. If that's the case, now you have to pay us, and we're not talking B'chor and Pasha, we're talking about Yorship. You owe us a milva. Now you owe, what does it mean metaltalin? Because every choy, but does it mean the moish? What does it mean? We have to think carefully. The Lashon Rabbeinu Chananel there is the milva is called metaltalin. We'll have to see what that means. Pashas, it means the most, although they're not Yorish, the most, so to speak, per se, only if you think like Rav Blachman, because the milva is called metaltal. So he says, since the milva is called metaltal, why would you think, let's say, try to understand, what does it mean? Why is the milva called metaltal? If you look carefully at the Lashon of Rashi, Rashi there says, Anon metalton shavak avon gabach lahava yisachayiv olav ela mois v'layachal little balchayv. V'lo la'akvam b'shvil ha'chayt mechasid, the metatel liyasla mishtavel lebal chayt. The pella. It's not the metaltalin the Yisayim yet. It's only metaltalin which are meshubed. Why is the most called metaltalin the Yasma? Metaltalin the Yasma is very good if you have. They were Yerushin already, it's theirs. But these specific mos that he paid off the Baal Chayv, they weren't Yerushin. He can give them any other mos. For goodness sakes, it's because of that. Rabbeinu Chananel there writes, his lashon is Anam metaltalin shavach avuch gabak kloimer hai milve. The isla avuna gabach metaltalahu. That milva is metaltalin. Now let's understand what that means. In other words, you have a chayv. What's a chayv? A chayv, you have a shibud on yourself. Oh, that depends what it is. Okay, let's go back to what we learned once. I have a shibud. That shibud a goof that we have on you for your nechasim. What we call, if you hold shibud deraisa, you have a chayv equals. You have a relationship. You have a chiyuv to facilitate the payment of the loan through giving money, okay, shibud b'cha, etc. That's called metaltalin. Zikr is called metaltalin because he's a person, and a ben chayrin is called metaltalin. It's a machlekes. We know Rashi and Taisvis and Shas. Taisvis across the board learns it, except for the only person, a person which is called karka, is an evet. A ben chayrin is called metaltalin. We learned that many times. We quoted the Taisvis in Ksubas Kuf Beis Amid Aleph, that a person who is mishabed himself for a shibud aguf, he's making a kinyan on metaltalin. And Taisa asked the question, so how can you make a kinyan shtar for a shibud? A shtar is a kinyan on karka. That's Taisa's question, if you recall. And Taisa's answers, because it's like sudar, it works like das. But in principle, to be a chayv that you have, to be you are mishubed to pay, that's called a chalais of a kinyan, a shibud in metaltalin. Okay, so we say metaltalin the yasma lemishtabda. What did you do? You have a chayv to us. That is meshubah. You're meshubah to us. Okay, you took that chayv. You're supposed to give me your chayv is meshubah to me. Why did you pay it? That's the shayv. That's the gemara. Okay, now what does this have to do with here? That's the question. That's a nice story where we have a case where where there's a double chiyuv. There's a Shimon is chayiv to Reuven and Reuven is chayiv to Shimon. It's very sweet. What's it got to do with what we're talking about over here? Here we're talking about chayiv shegaven nechasim becheskes bekaka becheves avim. You say me shegav bekaka becheskevim b'chayiv chayzev v'gayvim. What's up? Where's the metaltalin? Where's the metaltalin here? Well, this is a pellet. Now, I've seen it now. One person wrote me the pshat is because you took the money and then you mean to say, if someone owes you money, you were going to kesef. And then you bought karka, so the karka should be mishubed midin. It should be mishubed midin. It's a mishtarsha of the kesef. And then memela, why isn't that mishubed? Because of the tatul the yasula mishtabed. If he means that, I'll eat my hat. Okay, the ticket doesn't mean that. The pshat is because they took kesef, they took kesef of the Yerusha and they bought. Then memela, this will be perceived as an extension of this idea of mishtarsha. Interesting to know. What do you want? We're not talking about that. Mishtab is talking about the shibud, what they were Yerush proper. No one dreams because you have money and you translate to something else that becomes a continuance of that. Now you're a bailim. Kitsa. That's not it. So what does it mean? That's the question. I had asked this question. I was hoping that someone would, at least one person, good old Gidon, at least try to answer, which I compliment. Okay. Nobody had me offered anything. Obviously, you don't care. Okay. So why should I answer it? Okay. What's happening here? So I'm going to be matzia something, which I myself am hesitant. There's an interesting Rajba and a beautiful choice. I sent it to you on your on the phones. If you have it, you can open them. It's a Rajba in Kedushin. The Rajba has a question. Let me see if I have it here. Yes, I have it here. There's a famous halacha. I don't know if you learned. I don't know what if you learned Kedushin or you learned Shavuos or you learned B'Matzia or you learned Ksubas, whatever you learned. Did you ever hear of Shibuda de Reb Nosson? The Shibud of Reb Nosson. What's the Shibud of Reb Nosson? So this is a Sifin Shulchan Aruch. What's the Sifin Shulchan Aruch? And Simon Peivav in Shulchan Aruch. It's easier to read in Shulchan Aruch than anywhere else. Reuven Noishe Kuf B'Shimon. Reuven has a chayv on Shimon. Shimon owes him money. $100. The Shimon, the Levi, and Shimon demands $100 from Levi. Okay, everybody took loans. Okay, Shimon, Levi borrowed from Shimon, from Shimon, and Shimon borrowed from Reuven. So what's the halacha? We don't waste time. We don't go, oh, I'll collect from you, you'll collect from him. We sent Reuven to collect directly to Levi. And we learned it from a pasuk. And this is called Shibuda de Rabbi Nasa. This is what the Gemara there in Psachim Lamed Aleph says over there. That's the case of this story of Balchayv Shegava Karka. We're talking Shibuda de Rabbi Nasa. That's Shibuda de Rabbi Nasa. We learn it from a pasuk. It says by the Nasan Lasher Osham Loy. Okay, and the Gemara Darshans over there of Nasan Lasher Osham Loy. We don't look at who owns, who Lamais is going to lose. Okay, and since Nasan Lasher Osham, you pay the guy which is at the end of the food chain, so to speak. So in other words, you don't say you don't go directly Reuven to Shimon and Shimon to Levi. Reuven goes immediately to the end of the chain to Levi himself and collects. Now the Rashba asked a question. There's a very big Rashba on this in Kiddushin Daf Tesvav Amid Aleph. Very important Rashba. In fact, the Rashba Kasha. Why do we need a pasuk? Why do we need a pasuk? Hoder of Nasan the Omer minayin leNoishe b'chaveri mana v'chaveri lechaveri minayin shemotziim mezev notnim lezeh dichtiv v'natan l'asher asham lo. Umidi Rabbanan the Pligale, that's Reb Nasan. Rabbanan argue with him. Shamina and the Reuven shalav amana m'Shimon v'hilva l'Yehuda. Reuven took Alva from Shimon and then he lent money to Yehuda. Ein nichsa Yehuda mishubadim l'Reuven midin shibud. If you're telling me that this is a machlekes, Rabbanan and Reb Nasan, whether it's true that Reuven goes directly to the third party, to Levi, or not, you're saying without a special pasuk of Shibud Reb Nasan, there's no way that the shibud which Shimon has on Levi should now be meshubed to Reuven. Just like your nechasim are meshubed, one of your nechasim is an outstanding loan that you have on somebody else. In other words, his question is that the shibud haguf, which Shimon has on Levi, should be mishubed midin shibud nechasim, as if it's one of nichsei Shimon, it should be mishubed to Reuven. That's his question. His question is that chayv, that shibud that Shimon has on Levi, okay, that should be meshubed to Reuven. Now we're talking in all terms. That means we're talking about shibud aguf. We're not talking about shibud nechasim dafka. No one's that. If that's the case, I need the pasuk in the case where he doesn't have karka. He only has nechas. He only has money. We're not talking such a thing. We're talking on everything. He says, what do you need the pasuk for? How can they argue? I mean, how can they argue? He doesn't have karka. The teretz says the kasha is that the shibud aguf. That again, there's Reuven, number 1, Shimon, number 2, Levi, number 3. Reuven lent to Shimon, Shimon lent to Levi. It's actually the opposite, doesn't matter. First, Shimon lent to Levi, and then Reuven, and then it gave Alvot to Shimon. Okay? That's the third of the tzir. So what do we say? As the kasha, why do you need a pasuk that Reuven can go to Levi? It's very simple. The shibud, a goof, which Shimon has on Levi, is one of his nechasim. What's called a neches, a monetary entity. Do you have a monetary entity? Do you have monetary rights in brother Levi? Now, you can't be mishabed within shibud aguf, anything other shibud, just like shibud aguf can't be sold. So I'm going to grant that shibud aguf can't be mishub itself. But shibud aguf is also a neches. You have a monetary entity. That's called a neches, which should be mishubah to Shimon, to Reuven. In Enochanami, now there's no direct shibud aguf now from Reuven to Levi, but the shibud aguf between Shimon and Levi it's called a neches, and that neches should be mishubah midin shibud nechasim of Shimon to Reuven, and Reuven now should have that control of that midin shibud nechasim. That's what he claims. That's the kasha of the Rashba. I'm going to read the words again. So the Rashba, Shamina and Deruven Shalava Mana Mishimon Vehilva LeYehuda Ein Nichse Shub Yehuda Mishubadim LeRuven Shibud. Ha Shibuda Diaraise. Ilu Hacha LeRabbanon Ein Maitzin MeYehuda V'Naisin LeShimon. Reb Nosson Nami Leika Amar Ela Midechidish Rachmana L'Asher Oshim Lei Hamidin Shibud Lei. It seems that we see that we need a drasha for this, and therefore people can argue with this because they shibud a guf is not mishabed midin shibud nechasim. This is his kasha, and he said v'im tamer v'tayim amai. Why not? Emperor the Raj, but this is kuf tez zayin and most of Rav Kook. I sent it to you. It's in that thin column. V'im tamer v'tayim amai. Quite a few things are underlined, so you should be able to see that, right? V'tayim amai mishum de ein shibud. Ella al nichse leiva mamish. Ha b'nechasim shenishtabdu l'leiva she'ein gufan mamain shel leiva light. It's not mamish the mamonis. It's only a shibud. It's a monetary right, which is not a monetary right of total ownership. You need an entity which has total ownership. That's what's meshubad. An interesting you saw it. Shibudim are not the type of things which aren't meshubad. Shibud is only on a gufay mamain, equals something which has inherent value of its own, period. That's what he said. It's a big insight. Now that's interesting. He continues and says, but now that there is and he continues and says, where example, ukidin mecha v'hegdish, just like mechira and hegdish, she'ein adam meicher v'lo magdish milva sheyesh lo al acherim. Can you sell a shibud that you have on someone else? Well, he takes for granted that you can't. No, we all know that's a machlokes where the mechirish Torah is the right or the Rabbana. And he's naked here, the mechirish Torah is the Rabbana. That's why you can't sell a shibud. Okay? So he says, Ukidin mechav egdeshein adam meichav like magdish milva sheyesh al acherim var Torah kida iser peik mishameis and babakama mechirish Torah is the Rabbanan, etc. This is what he wants to say. He's mashvet to Bechir Shtos. He takes for granted that Bechir Shtos is the right, the Rabbanan. All these things are big machlekes in the Rishonim, and this is the only raya he really has. Lamaisa, even Naniach, this is Shitas Araj, but what does he write afterwards? Now he's mistopic. Once the Torah does write, B'Nasan Lasher Hashem Loi, and there is a shibud of Midrab Nasan. What's the chiddush of the pasuk? Is the chiddush of a pasuk that Ein Echanami said totally new halacha? Or is the chiddush of the pasuk that the shibud is mishtabed? That's the next piece of the Rashbi. Continues to write v'im tamer l'Reb Nasan, last line on this page. Kiva the mikol makayim etzim yizev v'noisen equals because of the pasuk. My nafkamina. What will be the difference? Imidin shibud or imichidush v'nos nasher. What's the question? What do you mean my nafkamina? You just said it doesn't work without the pasuk. What do you mean, my nafkamina? The answer is there a nafkamina? How will you translate the chiddush of the pasuk? Is the chiddush of the pasuk that the shibud is mishtabed, or the chiddush of the pasuk that although a shibud is not mishtabed, there's a special halacha of seder geviyah that you collect from him, but not that the shibudim are mishtabed. And here he goes a long shtickle Torah. This is really long to discuss. A lot has to do with things in Gemara Pesachim Daf Lamed. Again, I'd love to learn this with you, but I think if you're wise, you'd really learn this whole Rashba on your own. Here he deals with time of the Rav Nachman, the Gemara and Pesachim. It's a page. Personally, think it's very much worth reading. Okay, this is very worth reading. This is the shaila on the table. Now the Tzayisachayishin. This is going to be a Yom Tov. Tzayisachayishin says it has a very strong taina. He says he doesn't understand the question. He actually thinks, he says, he actually proves from different places that a shibud can be mishtabed. This is Pei Vav Sif Cotton Aleph. I sent it to you. I'm not going to read it, but I want you to prepare, look it on your own. He holds it's a davar pasha, the shibudim are mishtabed. This goes into the shaila of shtoros, etc. And he says, well, if that's the case, how are we going to answer this kasha of the he believes a shchayv is mishtabed. Oh, here it goes. Look at the left column, Reish Nun Hey, the last 6 lines of the first paragraph. If I ozalei u'malayva u'machil harei ze teirif m'she teirif ma'metatlam shubadin u'memela loy matzi toyin amana, etc. Im ken hakati tik shekol lomali kivin dem not teirif teirif ma'metatlam shemacher. That's what he asked. If she was mishtabed, why didn't he need a pasuk? U'lecher efshel yashiv, here he says something which is different. The ilav krop. V'hoya amal v'bo b'teirif shibud lo yelo shibud elo b'shibud nechasim v'lei b'shibud aguf. K'may de'enu nimke. L'shita shebeinu tam. V'chein l'manam shtoris lav de'eraisa. Gam ha'shibud shtoris lav de'eraisa. Well, that's wrong. Because it was understood in he takes for granted that shibud can only be mishtabed on shibud nechasim, not on shibud aguf. Because he simply says, just as you can't sell shibud aguf, you obviously can't be mishabed shibud aguf. Where is he wrong? Because he has to chap the avana of the Rashba's kasha. The kasha was that the shibud aguf that Shimon has on Levi is called a nechetz and should be meshubed midin shibud nechasim to Reuven. That's the question. So this teretz falls. He continues though. He says something which is very important. He writes, "There's a big nafkamina. Why we need the pasuk? The nafkamina is who is the baldin. The din is that when you do the shvua and you lied, you wanted to steal with the shvua, so when you pay a keren v'chaimish, who do you pay it to? So the pasuk in Nosan Asher Oshem like says that if hypothetically there was a shvua, Reuven lied to Shimon, Levi lied to Shimon, now he has to pay him a keren v'chaimish. He pays the keren and the chaimish to Reuven. It's a nice way of saying Reuven is not just the goyve, he is the baldin proper, which means there is a direct shibud aguf between Reuven and Levi. So that actually is an honest, good answer. What he's saying, I'm going to explain this again carefully, taking for granted you will look this up. There's a din of shibud at Reb Nasa. Again, what does the pasuk say? Pasuk says that it basically Reuven lent Levi owes money to Shimon, Shimon owes money to Reuven. And now basically Shimon, Levi tried to swear falsely in order to get out of the debt to Shimon. Well, now he's Maida Baruch Hashem, he's doing tshuva, he has to bring a keren, chaimish, v'asham. It's called Asham Shvus. And who does he pay the keren and the chaimish to? He pays the keren and the chaimish, the 20% extra, which is a kapara. He pays it la'asher or shamlo, to he who is lost because of him. Who is that? So Rav Blachman says that is Reuven, not the guy you lied to, but the guy who ultimately was going to get the money. Because the money that you owed to Shimon was going to go to Reuven, because Reuven is your baldin now. That's the pasuk. That's the halach. There we see the chayre that you have to pay not just the keren, but also the chaimish to Reuven, implying that Reuven is not just collecting, he didn't shibud him, he's your baldin. And you lied to him. That's what you owe him. You were going to be mafsid to him. This can only make sense if you actually directly owe money to him. And that is the chiddush of the pasuk. It's not that you owe money to Shimon. And the shibud that Shimon has on you is meshubed to Reuven. No, that may be a reason why the keren, the primary debt, should go from you directly to Reuven. But why would you give Reuven the chaimish? If your baldin is Shimon, you lied to Shimon. The answer is no. That is the chiddush Reb Nasan, that your baldin is Reuven. Major things in Paiskim which deal with this in Shulchan Aruch, they have a shaila taka in this kind of a case. Where's an nafkamina? Do we have to have that the loan that Reuven gave to Shimon, did it precede, or it has to be after the loan that Shimon gave to Levi? If it's a din of shibud, so l'chayr it should come later. If it's a din of shibud, it should be even if it came, it has to become after Shimon already has the shibud on Levi. Mashenk, if it's not shibud, just a loch of a direct owing, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter when the loan between Reuven and Shimon happened. These are shittas in Shulchan Aruch and Peivav. You can look it up. Mamish the first, Peivav isn't that big. It's what is it? 2 halachas, 5 halachas. Look it up. This is the shaila, and this is the big shmuz. Now, what do we have from here? Basically, the tzais is maniach clearly that the shibud is mishtabed. The tzais understands the chayre only shibud nechasim. That can't be. But the idea that he proved that Shibud are Mishtabed from the different rights that he brings, this I can live with. The Rajma himself, which thinks it does not work, here the question is, what happens after the pasuk? That's a suffix in the Rajma. Is the pasuk Rav Nosson teaches the Maaseh Shibud is Mishtabed, and it works within Shibud Shibud, or is it no? It's a special halach of Seder Gvir. That's a suffix with a big shakla in the Rajma. Why do I say this? I want to go back to my sugi here. I'm trying to find out what's the case here. A Balchayv, a Yisayimim, the father lent money, again, was Shimon, lent money to Levi and owed money to Reuven. What happens now, what happened is that the children collected the Sada, which from Levi, in lieu of the debt that he owed to deceased father Shimon. Now Reuven, the Balchayv, which Shimon owed him money, wants to collect that karka, and we say he can collect that karka. So that's the a raya that what the mafreya gaiva, etc., etc. So that should be a raya that he's a muksuk. That's the question. In there, where is there anything talking about metaltal? The Torah says there is one metaltal in there. Einochinami. L'chayra, the chayv that Shimon has on Levi, that shibud aguf, which is l'chayr metaltalin, as we learned in the Taisus and Ksubas, that any shibud aguf is called metaltalin, because it's not a shibud in the nechasim, it's shibud in your schuyas mamain for your nechasim. That's why Rabbeinu Tzon writes in Ksubas Kuf Beis, if you're mishaber yourself with the shibud aguf, you have to just be making a kinyan metaltalin. Kinyan star shouldn't be working. And he's mechadish, it works because it's like kinyan suda. We learned that quite a few times. Kuf Beis Omed Aleph in Ksubas Divra Matzcha Aliba de Ben Nanas. Okay, so what would be the din if hypothetically we should now forget the karka? L'chayra, the shibud aguf which Reuven had, which Shimon, the deceased father, has on Levi, should now be meshubed midin shibud nechasim, the nechasim of Levi of Shimon to Reuven. And if that's the case, that's why you should be going for the karka, because Rabbeinu Chanan hold that definitely is called mukzik, and I'll explain. When we talk about Igbayos in the chasim proper in karka, so we say, hey, yochel salka bezuzah, that maybe doesn't do it, but that's in the future. But I have in you now for whatever you will own. It's what the necklace is, the relights I have in you as a person. You're here. You're not Roy. What do I have? I have in you now. That is meshubit. That shibud aguf is mukzik. Bishlema the shidakar I can understand. No, it's not happening. It's in the futures. There's nothing being misalik the shibud aguf. The only way to misalik the shibud aguf is by paying the debt. You can misalik shibud nechasim, but how can you misalik shibud aguf? So the shibud aguf is mukzik gomer. In fact, the akasha, that's the kasha. How do you know? That from there we see that the shibud nechasim and karka is lemafreya. And therefore, you say it should be a mukzik and should be a mukzik also for b'chayra. That's the kasha. No, how do you know? Maybe the pshat is that he's not going for the karka, he did shibud hanachasim. He's going for the karka, he did shibud haguf, which is the neches. Because shibud is mishtabit. The shibud haguf that Reuven has on Shimon has on Levi is now mishubit to Reuven, and Reuven's got to collect within that shibud haguf. That shibud haguf which he has on you is mishubit to me. And I'll collect whatever I want. So even if I collect karka, I won't be collecting it midin shibud nechasim. Take away shibud nechasim. I'm going to collect the shibud nechasim. I don't have shibud nechasim on that karka, hypothetically. I have shibud aguf on that karka. So if that's the case, that should be the reason why the balchayv is chayzav v'goyvis. So what's the raya at all that we're talking about karkos? And that he answers, that can't be. He cannot collect the nechasim of Levi midin shibud aguf that Shimon has on Levi, because the shibud aguf that Shimon has on Levi is metaltalin, and metaltal the yasmalay mishtabda. He cannot collect after the father's perceived. That shibud aguf belongs to the assignment, and that's not mishtabda to the balchayv. That's what the Rashbam is saying. I'm going to say it again carefully. What we have is really something that fits. You'd have to have X amount of ideas to be able to do a thing like this, but that at least fits with the flow. What do we have here? We have what do we have here? We have a Rav Blachman which says Gavul Karka Ein Loi. Shibud Nechasim does not make you into a muzik. Abaye says, how can you say that? Don't you say that you say Mishagov Karka B'chayv Saviyim B'chayv Gayver Mem? And if you're not called a muzik, and we don't say the Mafreya who Gayver, we don't think that this is like a mashkin you have the mamadis from before. How can you be Gayver the Karka? The din is that what? You say Mishakanu Karka B'ches Acham Misaviyim B'chayv is not Gayver. Only if they were Yorish the Karka from the father, because it was his B'shas Chayim. Well, what are you going to do here? Al Koch, you have to say you're a bailam of the karka. How can you tell me that shibudim, the shibud karkos is not called muzik? That's the question. The Rabbeinu Chanal adds, and metalta the yasma loy mishtabda, implying that if metalta the yasma would be mishtabda, the raya wouldn't be a raya. Look at the language of the Rashbam. He simply said you can't. The raya is. Because how could you be goyver the karka after the father passed away? Unless you hold them afraid of goyver, it's roy, you're not muzik. How does he end it? The implication being, if metatal liyasam mishtabda, I wouldn't have a riot. Which metatal are we talking about here? And why wouldn't it be a riot? It wouldn't be a riot that she would on a karka make sure a bailam mafreya. So he says very beautifully. He says it's very simple. And we're not talking about the shibud nechas you have on that karka. No, for that it's not the mafreya. It's mikan lahaba, and you're out of muzik. But l'chayra, you still are collecting the same karka midin the shibud aguf, which Ru Shimon had on Levi, which is also called a neches, which is meshubah to you midin the shibud nechas. So now what you have is not the karka, but you have the ownership of that Reuven Shimon had on Levi's, he made him like an eved. Levi was like an eved of Shimon. That avdus now belongs to Reuven. The shibud aguf belongs to Reuven. Okay, and let him go goyver mitzad that since he's the bailam, so now he's going to be goyver that karka because he owns the bailus of that karka. He doesn't own the karka, but he owns the bailus of that karka. Maybe that's the pshat. Now that has nothing to do with bchor, because there's no way you can do chalukah in the shibud aguf. We learned that in the Rashbam in Kuf Chavdal Damabeis and Teisver Amaschil. There's no chalukah in the shibud aguf in the guf of chayv. If you remember how we learned the Teisvers. And that's Rashba. But from there, you don't have a right anymore, anything. That's a tremendous kasha. Let him he should be able to be goyver that karka midin that he's a bailam on the shibud aguf that Shimon had on Levi, which is called a neches, which he is now belongs to his midin is shibud lechasim. If that's the case, that also be true by milva. No, by milva you can't do a chalukah in the shibud aguf. Why not? Because we learned that chalukah, because shibud aguf is nothing but you can transfer ownership. A new chalois of violence can't be had. Do I have to repeat things we said in Shir and Taizer Masal Enach Karnaitel? Take it from there. That's the kasha, and the answer is no. The whole thing won't work. You can't say that a bal chayv can be goyver karkos of somebody midin the shibud aguf that the mace had on the original bal chayv, because that shibud aguf is metaltalin. Remember, as we learned, any right that you have in a person for his rights is called metaltalin. For that, I learned many times, because outside of Rashi's shita is everybody holds a ben chayim is called metaltalin. The only people with a hukash the karkos are avodim knanim. You must know that, and that's why I always quote the Rabbeinu Tam. A person which is in the Shabbat b'shibud aguf himself, that's metaltalin. No, if that's metaltalin the yasma loy mishtabda, there's no way that the Baal Chayv can collect that karka midin shibud aguf, which the deceased father had on the Baal Chayv, on the lighter. Okay, I hope you understand. I'm going to do this again, but enough. That's number one. So that was the answer.
Could Rebbe just clarify one point? Oh. Is Rebbe saying that there's a havamina, the mace is morish, the shibud that's on him, the shibud aguf that's upon him to the Yarshim?
That's a davar pashut. That's karadav boy. He had the shibud aguf, but didn't shibud nechasim he had. That's davar pashut. If you wouldn't have shibud aguf, there wouldn't be a chiyuv. You don't understand that? Without shibud aguf, there's no chiyuv. I'm sorry to tell you, if you owe money to the Yisraelim, that means there's shibud aguf. Because Medin Yerusha, that's not Mechira, that's the halacha of Brokar Davur. We're going to learn that shortly. That's why there's a difference between a son and a husband in Amid Beis. Yeah, that has to be, because if that wouldn't be there, so you said we couldn't collect a thing. That's a bias of Bekutra, right? We don't have to explain that. Even if Shabbat Deraisa, Shabbat Lav Deraisa, even worse. But whatever, yeah, that's a double passion. Okay. Now I want to move, if you don't mind, to Amid Beis. As I wrote you in the note of that, I'm going to do Safta, hopefully on starting Sunday. I'll have Sunday, Monday, and probably Tuesday. And because then I have to compensate, because I think on Thursday we can't learn, right? It's a shtickle Erev Yom Tov. So we'll learn Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Simple as that. So we'll have 4 days to do Safta. So now I want to go to the end of this part, this thing. Kuf Chaf Amid Beis. I didn't touch the Tosfos, and that is a gold mine of its own. But you know what I mean? I believe that we have to go further. Weiter. And Rabbeinu. Yaina, who? Soti Gemara. What is the Safta that Abaya bought in? Gemara says, my Safta. What's his grandmother's story? The Amar Lahu Nichsei L'Safta. Man says, you know what? My Nechasim, after I pass away, don't go to my children. They go to grandma. But Basra, but after her, Liar Sa'i goes to my heirs, not to her heirs, but my heirs. It revokes back to my family. Okay? Hevela Barta, she had a daughter. Davina Siva, she was married. Shchiva Chaya Bala, Ubachaya Safta, but this daughter, which died, she was a potential heir. She was the heir that would have had this Nechasim after Safta had passed on if she would have lived. But she didn't. She passed away while Safta was still alive and the husband was still there. So now what do we have? Basa the Shchiva Safta. Now Safta passed away. Now who does this go to? Who does this go to? Well, now it should be going to what? To his heirs. Well, which heir does he have? He only had a daughter. Well, if he has no children going down, he has to go back up. Okay? And that goes to his daddy's family. Lav Dafka Safta. Okay? So this is the Gemara Basa the Shchiva Safta. Asabal Katava. The husband says, listen, my wife would have been around. She was an heir. I am her heir. And so therefore you should give it to me. So Rashbam. Good man. Because it doesn't matter if he goes up, the mother doesn't get anyway. Ubasili Arsoi Acher Maskinosi the Yushu Yoshim Shalaki going Bna or Bita or Avia or Achia El Yoshim Shalik or Bni or Biti or Achi Karev Kaidim, the whole list which is found in the beginning of the paper. Havelo Gavra Chad Bart and one kid Shchiva Ibarta B'Chayev B'Chayev Safta V'Achakach, and afterwards Shchiva Safta, then she passed on. But also Baila Marin the Rashbam, the husband came V'Katava. Why was he Tivea? The fee Shebishas Savas Ames, when the Haisa beat Kayemis, when he said Nichsei Lach, the Safta B'Achrei Yarsai, he was talking about his daughter. She was around. Haisa Kayemis. Ukemi Shamar Nichsai the Chosai Safta Ubasra Lebiti Tahainu Yarsi, my heir. Rash Schlut Ishtal. And now he wants to, the husband comes and wants to claim the right of Yerusha that his wife had. So what does the Gemara say on that? What happens? So the Machlaikas. Amr Avuna Liyarsi, Afilu Liyarsi Yarsi. Zotrashbam. Hayu Basali Arsoi, when I said afterwards to my heirs, not to Safta's heirs, Kama Ugaver Liyarsoi, Liyarsi Arsoi Kamar. I mean, it goes that with the whole family. You know what he means. So he explains. Kivan Shenitna Liyosha, since my daughter, she is supposed to be the heir. V'harei zochsa b'en Abbas sha'isa yereshes shela kin refarish time will come on. The kol ha'ima achrecha kamer ma'achshav dami. Here the Gemara finally says after the Rabbi says, what's the idea? The idea is when I said nichsel sapta v'acharecha kol ha'ima acharecha achrecha kamer ma'achshav dami. If I say I'm giving something to you, and after your death to somebody else, I'm actually giving that second person the goof, and you now have the payrush. So the goof actually belongs to the daughter or the granddaughter while Sapta was still alive. And when she was alive, Nichsolach, she died She while Sapta was alive, she only had the Peros, and the daughter had the Guf. So if she had the Guf, naturally her heir, which is the husband, is going to get that Guf, and he'll be Irish. So he says the Kivin the Kol Haimer Ma'acharecha Kaimer Ma'achshav Dami, the Kivin the Zoch Salam Michayim Harei Abal Yereshet Ishto. That's simple. The Hainu Yarsi Yarsoy. What does that mean? V'Hachim Mefarshli Kamei. Miu Zot Rashba Hashta Lo Yadin Akati Time Drevuna. We don't know at the moment. Eliroim Anu Shazikas Abal V'Time Lo Yadin Ad Mefarshli Kamei. If you learn the Gemara, you understand it. It's almost don't understand why he explained it now, but let be. This is what he said. So the Yarsi Yarsoy means because basically the daughter already owned it. What does Rav Anan say? Rav Amar Yarsi v'lay Yarsi Yarsoy. Of them Zokti Rashbam, Achikamo. Ubasel Yarsoy Oisen Yoshim Shoili Ba'oilam B'Shash Tom Taskena Anino Ten Nichasai. Kigainim Oisen Bito Keyemes Oy Achiv Oviv. The Chol Ela Nikorev Yarsoy Avalo Ben Bito Kidemuch Kamei Da'ani Yarsi Yarsoy Shemekayach Bito Baldi Rashoto. V'lo LeBaala Diunami Yarsi Yarsoy. The Yarsoy Davke Kama Oisen Abami Koichi V'lo Yarsi Yarsoy Abami Koich Koichi. Hilkach. Hey, the Leki Asoy, Achemaisa Skenel, Yasi Asoy, Nishon, the Chosim, Biada Yosheba. What is he saying here? He's saying that he doesn't hold Koi Dummy. He simply is looking at the words Yasoy. What he meant everything. He meant Yasoy, the Yasi, and not Yasi Yasoy. I'm giving it to Yerusha. You don't have a present now. You're going to be Yerushit Lachasman. I don't plan to give it to your second generation. That's what he said. This is the machlekes of Ravuna and Ravana. So the Gemara, if we go down, the Gemara says, "Amar Rabbi Lazar davas nifta b'divin tanim kol ha'yom me'acharecha me'achadabi." Amar Rabba is what I need. Mistavra timer the name Rabba. What did my? Oh, excuse me, I forgot a piece. What did name Rabba say? The people that came from the west equal the Israelis. It says Shalchu mitam. They sent us a letter to Baba from over there in the west. From the Israelis, from Tveria, from Sipari, we agree with Ravanon, v'loy mitame. Hilchas kavase Ravanon, the Baal Yoris. We agree. V'lo mitame, not because either Ravanon suffer afagav de'evelei bra liberte lo Yoris. He believes it only means Yarsoi and not Yarsi Yarsoi, and therefore even as a son, he will not get it. Who will get it? The other relatives of the grandmother. V'lohi. That is not true. The Ila Evele Brola Barte Vade Yoris. So why is a husband different? We say Yarsi, including Yarsi Yarsoi. So the Gemara, why is that true? Because this is called Time to Yoris, Mishun Evele Roy, Venabal, Noite, Beroy, Kibamosik. It's called Roy, and since it's Roy, she didn't own it at the time. She only has it after Sapta will die, and she died beforehand. It's only Roy to be the daughter, his wives, not Mukzuk, and that's why he's not Yerush. Eina Chenami. He's not called a Yerush. If he would have been called a Yerush, like a son gets even Roy, then it would have gone to him. But since it's Roy, he's not called a Yerush for Roy. A big mistake to remember. It's not just technical. He's not called a Yerush for Dvorim which are Roy. Remember that language. That's what it says. Therefore, he's not called Yarsi and Yarsi Yarsoy. There's a chshon in the Gavra. He's not a Yerush for Roy. It does state in the Rashba. And that the Gemara says, Amar Rava, Mistavra time of the name Rava. It's Mistavra the time of the name Rava. Why? That we don't think, so to speak, that basically that she actually has it mechaim like Rav Huna. Why? They agree to Rav Anon. It's not dummy. It's only a regular din of Yerusha. And there's a difference between Roy and Mukzik. A Baal does not get Roy. Mashalenka, Rav Huna, it's not a question of Yarsi Yarsoy. Simply the daughter already owned it. She had the guf immediately, and therefore he's the natural heir of that. It's not Roy, it's Mukzik. That's the Shaila. Do I say so the daughter was a Mukzik, and if she's a Mukzik, the husband should get it because he's Yerish's wife? If we say Loikim Achshav Dami, he's only a Yerish, and here basically they say no, he's not a Yerish on things which are Roy and not Mukzik. Zokt Rava Mistavra Milsid the time of the Mema Rava. We agree with this Israeli approach. The E Kodim Sapta Vizavnas Vinas Vina. The proof in the Kepai is because Sapta could have sold it all, and there would have been nothing left for the girl to have. Ultimately, you can't say that she has the goof and he only has the peiros, because at the end of the day, since I have the right to sell it, that proves that that's not what you got. How could I possibly sell it la'olam if hypothetically you're the Baal Guf? This is a raya that that's not what it means. That's how Rashbam explains this. This is the Gemara. And that the Gemara says, Amar Rav Papa, Hilchasa, Ein Abal Noita B'Roike B'Mumzik. This is what I want to look at for a moment. The halacha is, this is Rav Papa, Maskonis halacha, this is at least the psak of Rav Papa, Ein Abal Noita B'Roike B'Mumzik. A Baal does not take Roy as like Mumzik. Now you look at the language, for whatever reason it be, we're simply equating B'chor to Baal. Good. Then it says, Ve'ena B'chor noitel pi shnayim b'milva, bein shegavu karka, bein shegavu mos. That should be more than enough. What about the Baal when it comes to milva? Why is that not mentioned? What's the din of Baal by milva? It's either so obvious I didn't have to say it, or what? Why is it not juxtaposed to B'chor or equated to B'chor? A. B. Isn't milva an issue of Roy and Mukzik? Isn't the whole din of Shvach based on a problem because Shvach is called Roy? Isn't that the machlekes of Rebbe Rabbanon? To what extent is Shvach the Mamela called Roy or Mukzik? If you recall, Kuf Chav Dalet. Is that not true? If that's the case, how are you differentiating between the din that B'chor is Neitel, ain't a Neitel B'Roy B'Mukzik, and so to speak, and that you're saying the same thing applies to the Baal, and then you're saying another din, ain't a B'chor Neitel Pi Shnayim B'Milva. What are you implying? With the loy ke b'nei ma'arava, which Nardoa tried to explain. Okay. In other words, let's try to understand there. Okay. And there, what about the Baal? So there's two questions on the table. First of all, why are you differentiating between milva and between roy? Isn't that a shaila of shvach? Point number one. Point number two, it would seem to be no. The end of that, Papa is also trying to point out the Doloike B'nei Ma'arava. Because B'nei Ma'arava thought that milva is not just a question of roy and muzik, it's a question that it's not a shvach, you're a proper muzik in the chayv, either midin mashkain or midin shibudim. Not just a halach of shvach, as we see in Rebbe and Rabban. And that he points out, loy b'karka v'loy b'nechasim, loy kibnei nardot. And therefore, Mamela, what is it? It goes back to a problem of shvach. So hypothetically, you could learn that the first is the broad halacha, but we don't know if that includes also milva, because hypothetically, milva could be understood outside of the realm of shvach. It's a new shaila. I use shibud the chasim enough to make a mukzah gomer, or is mashkan of a star enough to make a mukzah gomer? Walking away from the question of Rebbe Rabbanan. That was the whole sugya we learned here. And that Republic says, no, we basically don't accept name Rava. We basically say it's a very simple thing. This is nothing more. The part doesn't have it. Why? Because none of that exists. It goes back to the din of shvach. And in shvach, we pass in the halacha that shvach is called what? It's called roy. Here's one little problem which is missing. And that is, what are you trying to say? The Iker Chosman and Sefer, we haven't spoken about shvach here. We spoke about roy and mugzik. It would make a lot of sense if you would have brought up the din of shvach, and then you would have said that milva is different. Milva is also din shvach. What did you bring up? You brought up the halacha of roy and mugzik, a broad halacha, and your chiddush is obviously that not only is the b'chor and the baal have the same thing, and immediately you should be asking, is there a machlekes in this? Or is this a davar pashit? And what is the reason? That's a sugya in Gaf Kuf Yud Gimel that you must look up. Okay, you must look up. Obviously, there's some kind of a chiddush here, and you wonder what it is. Maybe in light of understanding that chiddush, you'll begin to understand what is he adding by saying these words of milva and not mentioning the Baal. Is he trying to, what does he mean? The Maisa Nechleku Rabbi Seina Rishonim, a big machlekes in this little page. Rashbam, Toises, Ramban, Ramah, Rimigash. Enjoy the game. So first I'm going to read a Rashbam, piece by piece, and then we'll try to understand what the other Rishonim say. Give Ramathal Omer of Papa. Einchasa Eina Bal Noitel Beroi B'Muzik. Zot Rashbam Beroi Go Mamish. We're talking about Roi Mamish. Kigoin, Virash is Ishto Bekever Benachla. Shenofla Lal Achar Misa. Proper Roi. Aser a Papa Ashmina, there's a Chiddush. The Lo Yorish, he is not Yorish. Daha Kula Alma Maidid Lo Yorish. Everyone agrees to that. There's no Chiddush in here. Kiri Alfinim from Sukkim by Give Us Pinchas. You see the Gemara Kuf Yud Gimel. The story of the day, why is it called Give Us Pinchas? Whatever it is, you'll see that's the place of the Kvur of Pinchas. We learn Ilchas Yerusha. Midichsiba Give Us Pinchas B'nai. Ravuna Lei Polig Ele Bacharecha. The argument is only by Acharecha, as we pointed out. Kidapir Shabalazer. The Kola Ema Acharecha Kaimer Me'achshav Dami. Abaroi, the Pliga Bei Rebbe V'Rabbanan. Which Roy? Not the Roy Gomer, but the other type of Roy, which is Chfura. We have a Shivlish, Slupa, have a Tamer, Loi Osel Ashmina. The Ein Loi Osel Ashmin, the Ein Abal Noitel. Elavade Abal Noitel. Now, why? Here he says something interesting. And what is he teaching us here? He's trying to tell us that Rav Papa is only talking not about Shvach, he's talking about Roy Gomer. Obviously, if it's true, what's the big Chiddush? If there's no Machlaikis, laws up. Okay? So he says, he means to say, we don't think that Rav Huna argues on this. That's what he's out to say. Okay, what about the real din of Milva, which is Shvach? He says, that's what we're talking about. Everyone agrees, Shabal Noitel. Why? Sharei Kisher Mesa Yorish is Kol Nechaseh. Shaisa Muchzakis Bahem. V'chigad lepere b'shusei gadle. What's he taught us here? He says it's a davar pashit as opposed to a pchor, which we seem to be saying. The pchor definitely before macha. We don't say a roy ashbach. Do you recall we learned that? Let me just take this away. Hello. Thank you. Goodbye. By pchor, we say the machlekes. Somehow the ein lepchor kodem chaluka at all. Somehow yesh the pchor kodem chaluka, but when does he have it? Mishas tvia. Remember that? We learned that Rashbam, the Sugin Kuf Chavav Amid Aleph. But before tvia, before nothing, there's no such thing as a roy ashbach. After tvia, there's no such thing. That's a regular din of shvach. Vashenk and kodem tvia, there's a din of acher tvia, the din of a roy ashbach. We learned that in the Rashbam Kuf Chavav Amid Aleph. We learned that in Divrei Masel Amar Avuna Amar Ravashi. We learned that. Okay, we know that. Okay, so what's he out to say? He's out to say that about Hari Shemesa, there's a din of a roy ashbach, even b'shas misa mamish. Now, what's the chiddush and why? The ein abal ma'achshav damid ava b'roy the plig b'Rebbe Rabbanan k'rei chafur v'ave shuvli shlupi v'ave tamri lo osel hashmina the ein abal noita elavade abal noita sharei k'shemesa yorish is call on the chasim shaisam muvzekes b'hem v'chigad lepere b'shusi gadle. What's the svara I want to hear? So let's understand carefully. How did we explain why is there no time of a roy ashbach by Pchaira Kodim Chaluka or Kodim Tvia? Because we learned, if you recall, based on the Shita of the Rashbam, that by a Pashat Lakula Alma, there's nothing before Chaluka. If you remember that. We based that on Rashi and Bechiris Nunvava Medbeis and on the Shuvas Marach or Zarua, that prior to Chaluka, it belongs to the estate. We called it Tfusas Habayis. That's the Lashon of Rashi over there in Bechiris Nunvava Medbeis. There's nafkaminas for how much you have to pay when you change my Sheni, Halbain, whatever it be. We learned that. We know that basically it's a corporate ownership, which only you have no private ownership until you break the corporate ownership by making chalukah. We also know that as far as Bechor is concerned, there's a machlekes. Yesh lo ein lo Bechor kodem chalukah says the Bechor also has just like the Pashut, only after chalukah. If you hold yesh lo Bechor kodem chalukah, there's an insane chiddush, and the chiddush is that as soon as you were teveya, You mamish have monetary rights in something. It's as if there's a chalukah there. They did a separate chalukah for your chelik b'chayra, which I'm going to have to re-explain again a bit more, but that's what it says. And then we have a halacha that eno chanami roya ashba. What happens before machar? No, you don't have. That, what does it belong to? It belongs to the tfusa. So in other words, we understood that according to Rashbam, before machar, it belongs to the tfusa. After machar, you have a schus mamain, which eno chanami, which is totally a roya ashba. For the b'chor, for the pashat, it stays in the tfusa until the chalukah. These are things we learned by our chava gedola. So what's he saying? His question is, why isn't Baal the same thing? Why do you think that the Baal has kodem chalukah? Why don't we say that prior to chalukah, when she dies, it's not his, it's her estate. It's tfusas habayis. It's only afterwards when he makes a kinyan with it or whatever it only be, does it become his private ownership. See, by Yarshim, which are chaylik, you understand that the breaking the company implies new ownership. You make a kinyan on the breaking of the company, mamela, it's yours. By a Baal, you can obviously learn that those tfusas are biased when she's dead, but when he takes it, makes a kinyan on it, therefore mamela, it is his. When he finally gets to him and he has it, it's his. Then he has private ownership with a kinyan, and then it should be his, but not before. Beforehand, it's called the estate of the deceased wife. And the chiddush of the Rashbam is a grand chiddush. This whole idea of an interim period called tfushas habayis is only because there's no other way of understanding it. You see, once we have people that are heirs in the beginning, no one thinks that you own a certain half and you own a certain half and we don't know where it is. No one dreams that that's the pshat in Yerusha. We all understand that we are all Yorshim in everything. That is a given. I don't know if you remember, but we learned in Taisus and Bab Metzia Dav Beis Amud Aleph, which taught us that. Okay, Arya, you should remember that, right? We learned that a Yerush is a Yerush in everything. Now, how can you be a Yerush in everything, for everything, and have private ownership? There's no such thing as two people having ownership in everything, for everything, and having private ownership. It's an oxymoron. It's a stir mnei ubei. Al kochach, we must say in that if I have a shem of a Yerush, which is shem Yerush is koil hakoil, al kochach is a tfusa. In a tfusa, in a corporate ownership, I can be a total Yerush in the tfusa. No problem. Not private ownership. In Hitchas Yerusha, I'm a total Yerush in everything. I agree. We're all totally Yerushim in everything because there's no private ownership. We're nothing more than stockholders in a corporate entity. So what? Doesn't make me a private owner. Zot the Rashbam, that's only true in a case where there are more than one Yerush. But if there's only one Yerush, yes, the one Yerush is a Yerush in everything for one thing, for himself. That is private ownership. In other words, the Rashbam's sheet is an interesting sheet. Without him, I would have thought a totally different svara. He comes to the conclusion the only time we have a din of tfusa, which does not mean private ownership, is because you need it, because you can't be without it. Taking for granted there's a basic hanacha that a Yerush means a Yerush in everything. And I always learned the opposite. I always understood because I know the din of tfusa, that's why I understand that Yerush is in everything. If that's the case, even by one Yerush, I can say there's a din of tfusa. Rashbam learns not that way. Rashbam says if you don't need a din of tfusa, it isn't. A Yerush can also be private ownership unless it's impossible. If you're a Yerush on the total estate and there's no one else but you, equals that Yerusha made you into a private owner. Mashenkin, if we two people are Yerushim in one estate, we can't have private ownership to Yerusha, but definition means I'm a Yerush in all. No one dreams it means I have one piece, we can't find it. That no one had a havamina in. I remember teaching that Reb Chaim, that even according to the Mandama Yesh Breira, it only means Mishas Chalukah Ve'elach and not before. I don't know if you remember this. Okay, we did this week. I learned with you Reb Chaim and Hilchas Nachlas. So if that's the case, this is the Shitz Ram, which is a tremendous chiddush. Let me say it again. Din Tfusa is a result of a hechrach. It's because there's no way of explaining that there's private ownership total private ownership and everything for two people at the same time, al kochach, it means to say that when Yerusha falls to two people, it goes into a corporate mode. So what forces the din of Tfusa Bais is because there's two Yerushim. Should there only be one Yerush, there's no reason to say this becomes corporate ownership. That corporate ownership is you. If it's a corporate ownership, but you're you're only one stockholder and you're the controller, that equals private ownership. And that's what he's saying. And since it's totally private ownership, I say a Roy Ashbach. That's the biggest shade come out of this Rashbam. Let's read it again. Zot the Rashbam. Again, Zot the Rashbam. Avale abal noitel shareke shemesa yerush kol anachasim. Shahoisem uvzekes behem. V'chigadle peire b'shusei gadle, as opposed to Pchor, which doesn't have that before Machor. So that is a tremendous chiddush here. Then you have to go to Ma'ariv. Okay, so I'm see you tomorrow. Bye. Go to
Rabbi.
Yeah.
Do we understand why the Rashbam